Welcome to episode 7 of The Calm Competitor, where we explore the specific actions you take in the final minutes before a high-stakes event. We will dive into the science of pre-performance routines, revealing how a predictable sequence of habits acts as an automatic safety signal to calm your brain. The ritual that quiets the storm. Picture a locker room, 14 minutes before a game. Someone in the corner has their eyes closed, not sleeping, not praying, or not exactly. They are doing the same thing they did last week and the week before that. Left earbud in, right one out, the same 3 songs, in the same order. Then a specific stretch. Then 2 slow breaths through the nose, 1 out through the mouth. Then they tap their left knee twice. From the outside, it looks like a quirk, a superstition, like the ball player who won't step on the foul line, or the student who sharpens the same pencil before every test. But something is actually happening in that locker room. Something measurable. Something the nervous system is doing on purpose, even if no one in the room could explain it. The tapping, the breathing, the playlist in order. These are not magic. They are biology. And the biology is strange enough that once you understand it, you will never see a pre-game routine the same way again. What is happening inside a body that does the same thing in the same order right before it has to perform? Before we can answer that, we need to understand the problem the body is trying to solve. You probably know the feeling. It is the feeling before the test, before the audition, before you walk onto the court with everyone watching. Your heart is going faster than you want it to. Your hands might be doing something strange. Your thoughts are skipping, hard to hold on to. You know you have prepared. You know what you are supposed to do. But your body is acting like none of that matters. This is what most people call nerves. Scientists call it the stress response, or more technically, activation of the sympathetic nervous system, the part of the nervous system that prepares you for danger. When it fires, your heart rate jumps. Blood moves away from your hands and toward your big muscles. Your breathing gets shallow. Adrenaline, which is the chemical name for epinephrine, floods your bloodstream. Your body has made a decision. Something threatening is happening, and you need to either fight it or run from it. This system evolved over millions of years. It saved your ancestors from predators. It is extremely good at what it does. But here's the problem. It is not actually that good at distinguishing between a lion and a pop quiz. The same system that kept humans alive on the savannah, the same cascading flood of adrenaline and cortisol, fires when a 13-year-old sits down to take a math test. The brain's threat detector does not care that the test will not actually kill you. It cares that the stakes feel high. That is enough. And there is the catch. A certain amount of that activation helps you. Higher heart rate, sharper attention, faster reactions. These are advantages on the basketball court. The problem is the threshold. Too little arousal, and you feel flat, slow, not quite there. Too much, and the system starts working against you. Your working memory, the mental workspace you use to hold and manipulate information, begins to shrink. You can't access what you know. The knowledge is in there, but it's like trying to read in a room where someone keeps flipping the lights. So the body needs to find a specific level of activation, not too low, not too high, and do it in 13 minutes, in a noisy locker room with 100 other things demanding attention. How does it get there? Here's where things get strange. There is a part of the brain called the amygdala, pronounced amygdala, 2 small clusters of tissue, one on each side, buried deep. The amygdala's job is to monitor incoming information for threats. It is fast, faster than the thinking parts of the brain. Before your conscious mind has even finished processing what it's looking at, the amygdala has already scanned it and sent out a preliminary verdict. And here's the problem. The amygdala makes this judgment partly by checking against past experience. It is asking, at incredible speed, have I seen something like this before? What happened? Is this dangerous? If the last time you sat down to a high-stakes test, your heart raced, and your mind went blank, the amygdala has stored that. The test environment itself becomes a trigger, not because the test is dangerous, but because the brain has associated that specific context with a stress response. The room, the pencils, the quiet, the clock, they are now part of a pattern the amygdala recognizes. This is called contextual conditioning. It means that the setting itself can set off the alarm before anything has even happened. So when you walk into the gym or sit down at the desk or step onto the stage, your amygdala is already scanning the context. And if it has learned that this context precedes high stakes, it starts the cascade. The heart rate climbs, the cortisol rises, before the test begins, before the whistle blows. The question is no longer just, how do you calm down once the stress response starts? The question is, can you interrupt the trigger before the cascade gets going? And this is where the routine enters. Here's the first piece of the mechanism. When you perform a predictable, personalized sequence of actions, the same stretch, the same breath, the same 2 taps, before an event, you are doing something very specific to your nervous system. You are giving the amygdala something it recognizes as safe. Think about how you feel in your own bedroom when you have been somewhere unfamiliar. The novelty of the new place is gone. The specific familiarity of your own space, the small sounds, the exact quality of the light, sends a signal that nothing here needs scanning. The alarm does not need to be on high. A pre-performance routine does something similar. Not by making you feel like you're in your bedroom, but by creating a pocket of predictability inside an unpredictable environment. The routine, by definition, is something you have done many times before. Your nervous system has seen it. The amygdala has a record of it. More importantly, it has a record of what comes after. Not catastrophe, just performance. Whatever happened, good or bad, the routine preceded it and you survived. The routine is, in neurological terms, a safety signal. When the amygdala encounters the routine, it does something researchers can actually measure. Cortisol levels, which are a direct indicator of how activated the stress system is, drop. Not because the situation has changed, not because you have reminded yourself that the test won't kill you, but because a pattern the nervous system already associates with safety has been introduced into the environment. The novelty of the threatening context is partially overwritten. You have, in a very specific way, been here before, because your body has. You have done this sequence. This sequence precedes performance. The alarm drops a notch. This is the first layer, the routine as a circuit breaker. But there is a second layer, and the second layer operates through a completely different mechanism. When you perform a routine, you are not just managing threat. You are also managing something psychologists call attentional focus, which is a technical name for where your mind goes when it has nothing specific to anchor it. Here's the problem with the 13 minutes before the game. You have already prepared. There is nothing more you can do to improve your performance right now. But the mind doesn't like sitting with that. It starts doing what minds do when they are left unmanaged. It starts projecting forward. What if I mess up? What if I can't do the thing I've practiced 1,000 times? What if everyone sees? These thoughts are not neutral. They activate the same stress system as an actual threat. The amygdala does not distinguish very well between a real thing that is happening and a vivid mental image of a bad thing that might happen. This is why thinking too hard about what could go wrong before a performance is physiologically similar to the performance going wrong. The mind needs something to do, something that is not that. The routine gives it a job. When you are executing the sequence, left earbud in, specific stretch, 2 breaths, tap the knee twice, your attentional focus has an object, the sequence itself. This is not accidental. The routine works in part because it occupies the cognitive space that would otherwise be available for anticipatory fear. There is a concept in cognitive science called attentional bandwidth, which refers to the fact that focused attention has a capacity limit. You can only fully attend to so many things at once. When the routine fills that bandwidth, even partially, it squeezes out the catastrophizing, not by suppressing it, which doesn't work and usually makes it worse, but by occupying the same mental space with something specific and manageable. This is why the routine needs to be personalized and repeatable. It doesn't work if it requires active decision-making. Which song, which stretch, which order. Decision-making takes attentional resources. The routine needs to run on a kind of autopilot, familiar enough that it doesn't demand conscious effort. That's what frees it to perform its function, filling the mental space with safe, known pattern rather than open-ended threat. So, the routine talks to the amygdala through familiarity, suppressing the threat cascade before it reaches full intensity. And the routine talks to the prefrontal cortex, the brain's attention management center, by giving the mind a specific bounded task that displaces anticipatory fear. Two different systems, two different mechanisms, one sequence of taps and breaths. And here's what this means. The student in the locker room tapping their knee twice is not performing a ritual for luck. They are administering a neurological intervention, one that is personalized to their own nervous system's history. The taps, the songs, the breaths are not arbitrary. They are the accumulated residue of every time that sequence preceded performance and the performance was survivable. Every repetition makes the mechanism stronger. Each time the routine runs before a game and the athlete walks onto the court and plays. Whatever happens, the amygdala updates its record. This context, with this sequence, ended in performance, not catastrophe. The safety signal strengthens. This means the routine is not just a tool for managing anxiety in the moment. It is being built, slowly and incrementally, every time it is used. The athlete on the bench, with the earbuds in, is not just preparing for today's game. They are refining an instrument they will carry for years. The two taps on the knee are a conversation the body learned to have with itself. Somewhere in you, there is a moment before something that matters, before the test starts, before you walk out onto the stage, before the first question in the interview. Maybe you already have something you do, something that always seemed a little superstitious, a little irrational. Look at it differently now. That thing you do before, the specific song, the specific breath, the specific small physical action, your nervous system is not performing a magic trick. It is recalling a record of its own survival. Every time that sequence ran and you made it through, the signal strengthened. The amygdala recognized the pattern. The cascade slowed just enough. The routines we build before difficult things are not evidence of anxiety. They are evidence of a nervous system that has been listening carefully to its own experience and found a way to speak to itself in a language it already understands. Whatever your version of two taps on the knee is, you did not stumble onto superstition. You stumbled onto something much older than that. You've learned how to prepare, execute, and stay grounded, but the journey doesn't end when the final buzzer sounds. In our final installment, Episode 8, we will uncover the critical post-game mistake that could be quietly sabotaging your future performances.